Today's webinar is on 8 things you need to know about the Mass Data Security Law. So thanks for joining us today. Our new training sessions are quicker. We're trying to keep them down to 30 minutes, 20 minutes for some of the shorter ones. If you haven't already done so, please go to our website, www.ikaru.com. In the What's New area on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see a link for the presentation. For call clarity, all our training sessions are listen only. They're less interactive than we'd like, but the reason is we want to cut down the ambient noise. If somebody needs to put a call on hold, we won't all hear the music. If you have questions, please email info@ikaru.com and we'll try to get to Q&A or we'll follow up afterwards. And anytime, call 978-692-4200 for help. The mission of our workshops is to help you get more from the technology you already have and also to introduce you to new technologies you need to know about. Our focus is on helping you use technology to grow your business and also understand how to protect your business. And today's focus is going to be on protecting your business. So the Mass Data Security Law, HIPAA, all industry security regulations specifically require ongoing employee training. And we've revamped all our training to try to make these quicker so more people can participate. But we really try to remind our client base that you need to regularly train your employees or train your employees so they stay up to date, because that's often the weakest link. All right, so why? We're on slide number 6 now. Why does a new regulation have to be in effect? And actually, this isn't new. It's the 5th anniversary, but all these, it seems like there's more and more regulations. Why? If you just look at the headlines, you'll see technology breaches occur all the time. Target was breached, Home Depot was breached, your smartphones are getting breached. There's all kinds of things going on. There's new threats every day. The threats get more sophisticated, and that's why the education piece is extremely important, and that's why regulations are put into place. It's to protect the public. End users are often the weakest link, and there's 2 big industry reports that came out last year that basically say the same thing. It's in the 70% range, but of all the breaches, it winds up being an individual that causes the biggest trouble. There was a case a couple years back of a Blue Cross Blue Shield employee who was being a good worker, taking extra work home, going to work at night, left a laptop in a car, and that laptop was not encrypted and contained a referral database of just about every physician in the country, with their Social Security number, other tax IDs. So this is the kind of disaster that can happen with just one weak link in the system. A question that we get a lot is, oh, well, I'm just a small business, so this stuff doesn't apply to me. It applies to all businesses in Massachusetts and all nonprofits. And the definition of personal information is first name or initial with a last name and any identifying information, a credit card number, a bank account number, a Social Security number, anything that could be tied to that individual, which potentially could lead to identity theft. And keep in mind that your industry may have additional requirements. We work with a lot of medical practices. HIPAA governs the rules there, financial services companies. But all the basic regulations are kind of theme and variations of each other. So now getting into the 8 things you need to know, there's 8 technology requirements that are included in the Mass Data Security Law. So the first one is secure user authentication protocols, including, and a long list of things. Wherever I have stuff in quotes, that's actually just cut and paste directly from the law. So that's exactly what the law says. So control of user IDs and other identifiers, a reasonably secure method of assigning and selecting passwords. And what this means in plain English is that you need to have unique usernames. So you can't just have everybody logging in as the same person. Absolutely no passwords written on Post-its that are under keyboards. You need to safeguard passwords and you need unique passwords. Moving on, also, secure passwords means strong passwords. And this is tough because strong passwords are often passwords that are impossible to remember, but they include 8 or more characters, uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. Never a word in the dictionary. Every once in a while, when there is a major breach, one of the interesting byproducts is that reports come out about what are the most common passwords. So, and these come out every so often. We have one of them posted on our blog if you want to search for that. But 123456, if that's your password for anything, change it immediately. It is the most popular password in the world, so it's a good trivia factoid. It's a bad idea. ABC123, 12345, common names of children, those are all overused passwords, and they're going to be easily cracked. Install a 90-day password policy. 90-day password policy. In general, we advise businesses they should have a server controlling the security for their site. You can institute things like password policies and password strength through the server security. Domain authentication should be used, but keep in mind that technically feasible, not all applications will enable you to have a password policy kind of programmed into the function. You may also need to rely on just management of your people and education, and remind people in team meetings or people joining in sessions like this that you need to have strong passwords. Technology requirement number 2 is secure access control measures that restrict access to records with personal information to people who need the information to do their jobs. So what this kind of boils down to in plain English is that you really shouldn't have situations where a lot of people just share a computer and everything's just sort of there. You need to, the law requires you to protect access. So you can think about if you have HR function or finance or wherever else you keep protected information. Again, that information has to be restricted. If there's job functions in your organization that don't need to have that information, they should not have access to it. Technology requirement number 3 is the encryption of all transmitted records and files containing personal information that will travel across networks need to be encrypted. So a lot of times, people think that email is, okay, I'm just sending it from point A to point B, but what people don't realize about email is technically the way it works, it's kind of like sending a postcard. That to a sophisticated user, an email could be visible. It's bouncing from, I might send it from my system, and it's going to some server somewhere, it's going through Verizon, Comcast, it bounces around a lot of places. I don't have control over where it actually goes before it gets to the last person. So one rule of thumb is never email information. If you do need to email protected information, you should email it. It has to be encrypted. Also, when you connect wirelessly to your network, those transmissions need to be encrypted. And a really common question that we get is, oh, well, I put a password on the file. That's good enough, right? It's like password encryption, a password protection is not the same as encryption. So password protection is kind of like putting a little padlock on your information. You knock off the padlock, it's all there. Encryption is kind of like having a, everything goes in a cross shredder, it's completely indecipherable, and the encryption key is like a magic wand that reconstructs it. So that's a completely different standard. Email encryption platform that we use is called Voltage. Voltage is now owned by HP. This is what's known as encryption on the fly, which means that I can send encrypted information to my recipients and they don't have to purchase a license for this. There's other solutions out there, but they get a little more complicated because then you have to have end-to-end. The person at the other end has to have the same license. And I will say that for folks who do, once you start adding these security layers, what you're going to see is they become inconvenient. It's where we've seen this work well is that you need to have a protocol where you maybe have like a boilerplate email you send first. Hey, I'm about to send you some encrypted information. You're going to get something that looks like this, and here's 3 steps you need to follow when you get it. If you don't do that, people just say, oh, wow, I got this thing, I can't open it, I don't know what to do, and it just becomes really cumbersome. So you kind of have to think through your processes or think of other ways of getting information to folks other than email. Technology requirement number 4 is the reasonable monitoring of systems for unauthorized use or access to personal information. Again, the caveat here is it's where it's feasible. If you've ever looked at server logs, we work with hundreds of businesses, and a lot of times we have to figure out things that are going on with servers. They have entries every 10 seconds for every little thing that the server is doing under the hood. The granularity is is ridiculous. Within a period of seconds, you'll see 1,000 entries on there. It's almost impossible to go through that, but you can run reports on specific things like failed logins, and a lot of applications will enable you to do this. So check out the applications you have and see if there is a way of reporting it. And basically, the law says you need to do what you can do. So if your applications enable it, do it. You may say, we're going to have a protocol where, once a month we're going to run some reports. Come up with a methodology that fits the size of your business. Technology requirement number 5 is encryption of all personal information stored on laptops or other portable devices. So that includes the really popular USB hard drives, USB sticks, tapes. I list those here. If you're using tape backup, you should not be using tape backup, DVDs, etc. So whenever you put information on someplace here for convenience, hey, I'm going to work on these files at home, you can't transport them. You can't put them on that device or transport them if it's not encrypted. TrueCrypt has been the standard for a long time. That's open source. It's going through some changes. PGP is the kind of industry standard. You do need to buy each license for that. One thing that's nice about that is if you manage a lot of systems for encryption, then you can actually manage the keys. So, because one thing we really want to emphasize is once you encrypt a system, there is no backdoor. It's secure. If you forget that encryption key, you will not be able to access the files. And that is very different from the Windows password. When you log into Windows, you put in a password. If you take that hard drive out of the system, stick it in a different system, you can read all the files. The Windows password is very easy to crack. It's a completely different thing. The encryption key must be remembered. Okay, technology requirement number 6, for files containing personal information on a system connected to the internet, there must be reasonably up-to-date firewall protection and system security patches. So what this means is in our monthly newsletters, we always send out, hey, here's the latest from Microsoft, the critical patches. We're tracking stuff like that all the time. We actually test patches. If you're on managed service with us, we actually get them tested before we roll them out. We actually don't advise just using the standard Windows update and rolling them out blindly. Every once in a while there's a bad patch that comes out. We do advise testing first. But keep in mind that this is actually required by law. So a lot of times we get questions about Windows XP. And as many of you know, Microsoft ended support for Windows XP last April, which means that these systems are now out of compliance. Now the key thing here is in some cases there's maybe a system that runs an embedded some specialized application in your organization maybe there's not a newer version that's available. Keep in mind that the regulation says it's systems that contain personal information on systems that are connected to the internet. So you could potentially isolate that system. As a general rule, though, we would advise all businesses to phase out any Windows XP systems that are still in existence. All right, technology requirement number 7 is reasonably up-to-date versions of system security agent software that includes malware protection, up-to-date patches, and virus definitions. And this comes up a lot. If you're on managed service with us, you might have seen one of the snapshot reports where we look at, are you getting updates every day? We have somebody on our team who actually, that's their whole job, is to watch our client base, watch all the systems we manage, and look for basically red dots, something out of whack. It didn't get an update for some reason, maybe system's not on, and then we investigate it. But if you've just put a license on, maybe installed antivirus a long time ago, that doesn't mean you're actually getting the updates. Now, new threats come out all the time, and that's why the virus definitions have to be updated on a regular basis. So that's something that you need to watch for, is the updates. Never let the antivirus license expire either. And technology requirement number 8 is education and training of employees. So this is what we opened up with, and we're kind of celebrating the 5th anniversary of the Mass Data Security Law with another refresher for folks. But education and training of employees on the proper use of computer security systems and the importance of personal information security is required by law in Massachusetts. And what we see, we work with hundreds of businesses, all different industries. We work with some users who are extremely tech savvy. We work with some folks who are, technology is just not their thing. The important thing to know is that you don't have to know all the details and all the buzzwords, but what you do need to know is that all users need to be on the same page regarding the basics. Often what we see is people break rules for convenience. They're not trying to do something wrong, but they do it kind of unknowingly. Somebody needs a piece of information. It's like, okay, well, the fastest way for me to get it to you is to email it. Or we mentioned that Blue Cross Blue Shield laptop that was sitting in a car. That was an employee who was trying to do extra work, who was going to do more work from home. It's the education that makes people more aware of this. And we just really encourage everyone. We do our monthly newsletter. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're just really trying to get the message out there that all your employees need to understand this. And then keep in mind that risk analysis is an ongoing process. We get this question a lot. We highly recommend business class firewalls in place at sites. We like the SonicWall family of products. But the security licenses, those need to be updated every year. And sometimes we get pushback. It's like, well, why do I need to do this? It's your technology protection needs to be kept up to date on a regular basis. And there's new threats, and it's changing all the time. Your business is changing, your industry is changing, your people are changing, technology changes. Keep in mind that this is something, it's not just set it once and forget it. It's something that needs to be constantly monitored. So more things to think about. Mass data security law requires a written information security plan. This can be real simple. This could be one page. It could be bullets of who's the point person for security, and then how do you address the requirements that are listed. And it may be, we have an employee security document that states that they must have strong passwords, or you might say, oh, we have a server and we've instituted a 90-day password policy. Just a couple of bullets. Doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be a long document, just saying, yes, this is what we're doing. So do you have a written policy? Also things to think about, bring your own device. This is the big trend, people bringing their phones. So if people are bringing their smartphones into work and they're connecting on your wireless, well, that's an issue. What are the rules? What do they have access to? Bringing in your own applications is who knows, people might be running applications a lot of times either on their laptops, on their phones. Do you even know what people are running on your network? Can you measure your compliance? We like to give out the snapshot reports to folks to say, hey, while you were busy working, this is what we're looking at for antivirus updates, security patch updates. We know we'll remind people when PCs need to be rebooted, etc. But that's the kind of thing, like how do you know you're compliant? Think about that. And then always think about layers. Security is all about layers. We like perimeter security. I mentioned the sonic walls, your desktop protection, your security patch updates. It's each layer built upon the foundation is what helps make you secure. And keep in mind that even if you do everything right, it's still possible. You can still get a virus. You could still wind up with a problem. But the more things you do, the more layers you put in place, the less likely that is to occur. And that's really what you're shooting for. There's no such thing as 100% security, but you want to put all the layers in place that you possibly can to make sure you stay as secure as possible. All right, so thank you everyone for joining us. We hope you'll engage with us. We have a blog where we put out a lot of how-tos and security information on there as well. We have a Twitter feed, ICAROIT, which we look for industry trends and things that we think our audience needs to know about. We also have a Facebook page, so however you like to get information, our YouTube channel as well. We have our monthly e-newsletter as well. So we want you to get information. We want you to stay up to date. And whatever your preference is, we hope you find something in a blog, Twitter, Facebook to stay up to date. And please call us anytime with questions, 978-692-4200. Thanks for joining us today.